Водку наливать будут сегодня?
What?
No way this American can win.
Give. Tough your shit.
A masked giant fights his opponent in a brutal prison match. He lifts the other man over his head and throws him forward, celebrating his victory. Guards rush in, beat him down with a stick, and strap a collar on him like a dog. Meanwhile, in a cell nearby, an African-American inmate finishes writing a page in his diary. He reflects on how the world is a cruel place where everyone wears a mask. Then, he attacks his sleeping cellmate, chokes him, and rips out his teeth with a pair of pliers. At dawn, the bodies are hauled out and dumped into unmarked graves. This is Kravavi Prison, and the rules here are written in blood. Over in the nearest city, an American named Kyle LeBlanc works at a steel factory in Magnitogorsk, Russia. His wife, Gray, is unhappy with his long assignment overseas. She wants to go home, take a break, go for a swim. Kyle finishes his shift and calls her. Gray apologizes for being selfish, but the man gets it. She has no friends out here at all. While they talk, the power in their house cuts out. A figure appears outside the window. An intruder breaks in. Gray tries to get the lights back on and calls Kyle again, but a man named Sergio Kovic attacks her and starts beating her. Kyle hears her screaming and floors it. He tries calling the police, but nobody on the other end speaks English. Kovic pulls a knife. Gray fights back hard, but takes a stab wound. Her eyes go blank. Kyle bursts through the door and finds his wife's lifeless body. He covers her and breaks down. Then a vase smashes into the back of his head. The killer is still in the house, and now he's trying to run. Kyle snaps out of it fast and takes off after Kovic. He catches up to a tram and jumps on board. They fight inside, and Kyle manages to take the knife away and throw the guy out through the window. The American jumps after him, but a motorcyclist slams right into him. Kyle's arm breaks. Turns out the rider is a cop. Kovic gets away while Kyle ends up in handcuffs. Later, the authorities catch Kovic and bring him to court. The judge reads the verdict. Acquitted, insufficient evidence. Kyle can't believe what he is hearing. His lawyer explains that Kovic's family has money and bought the judge. On the way out, Kovic provokes Kyle by smacking his lips at him. Kyle loses it completely. He rushes the killer, rips a gun from a guard, and shoots Kovic dead right there in the courthouse. For this, the man gets life behind bars without parole. Kyle is transported to Kravavi Prison. General Khrushchev, the warden, comes out to greet the new arrivals. He orders the guards to drag out a prisoner with a busted knee. The man had tried to escape, got caught easily, and now his screams serve as a warning to everybody else. After that, the newcomers are taken inside and told to strip. All personal belongings go into a bin. Lieutenant Tolik spots the wedding ring on Kyle's hand and tells him to take it off. The American refuses. Tolik cracks him with a baton. Kyle drops, screaming in pain, and the lieutenant rips the ring off by force. The only thing Kyle manages to keep is a small photograph of Gray. Everyone gets a haircut and lines up for roll call. Kyle notices his ring on Tolik's finger. The lieutenant is wearing it like a trophy. The American swallows his rage and looks at the photograph. He remembers the good days, swimming together under the hot Louisiana sun. It feels like yesterday. Maybe her death in this prison are just a bad dream. The nightmare is only getting started. After lights out, Tolik and his men come back and take Billy Cooper from the cell. With them is another inmate named Andre. He has connections and influence inside Kravavi. For the right price, he gets whatever he wants from the guards. This time, he wants the young American to himself. Everyone hears Billy's screams coming from the next cell, but nobody asks questions. A deafening siren announces the morning. Kyle washes up and heads to lineup. The sight of Billy, beaten and humiliated, shakes him. Andre notices and provokes Kyle by smacking his lips, the same way Kovic did before he died. The American snaps again and attacks the gangster. They fight, but Tolik jumps in fast and drags Kyle away. As punishment, they throw him into solitary confinement with broken plumbing. Foul sewage runs across the floor, and the walls carry marks left by whoever was locked in here before. Kyle's mind fills with nothing but the memory of Gray's murder. He lies down on the stone slab and refuses to eat. Everything is gone. His life is over. He decides he doesn't want to keep going and wraps his shirt around his neck. When that doesn't work, he runs headfirst into the wall. He starts hearing Gray's voice, screaming louder and louder. The man collapses from exhaustion. Then a moth flies in through a broken window in the ceiling. Kyle remembers the time a moth, just like this one, flew into their house back home. Gray asked him not to hurt it. She told him about a legend, that people turn into butterflies after they die. And if you ever see one, it means someone who loved you is still right there with you. She took his hand and pressed it gently against her heart. A scream from the next cell snaps him out of the memory. Kyle knocks on the wall and the man on the other side knocks back. They understand each other. They're both in the same hell. Guards come and shut the neighbor up. Only the moth, with its delicate wings, breaks through the darkness. It keeps landing on the food plate, as if nudging Kyle to eat, to keep going. The American decides Gray is sending him a sign. He picks up the spoon. When his time in solitary is up, Kyle gets moved in with an African-American inmate known only by his number, 451. Tolik warns Kyle that this man has already killed several cellmates. If the American wants a different arrangement, they can work something out. Kyle doesn't want to play by their rules just yet. He steps inside. His new cellmate doesn't say a word and keeps writing in his diary by candlelight. The night passes without incident. During the day, the prisoners are put to work building a railroad. Kyle nearly passes out from exhaustion. Someone kicks him awake and forces him to keep going. A few days later, Gray's brother comes to visit. He tells Kyle that she was buried back home. He advises the American to pay the guards. It's the only way to survive in here. Kyle seriously considers the offer. Later, out in the yard, Andre tries to throw a ball at Kyle but hits inmates from a different gang instead. Things get tense, but Tolik steps in and suggests they settle it with a fight. Kyle walks away and runs into Billy. The kid, just 21 years old, tells him he was driving through Russia when he met a girl. They got drunk. She drove his car straight into a restaurant, and Billy ended up with 18 months. Another inmate rolls up in a wheelchair, Malachi. He read about Kyle in the newspaper and respects what the man did. Malachi has been here for a while and breaks down the pecking order. Andre is part of the Russian mafia, led by a guy named Bolt. Together with the guards, they basically run the whole prison. The other gangs try to stay out of their way and fight each other instead. Malachi says he'll help the new guys if they need anything. He also tells Kyle to pay Tolik for a transfer out of that cell. That night, Kyle has another nightmare about Gray's death. This time, he gets home in time, but a set of bars drops in front of him, and he can't reach her. He screams in his sleep, and 451 grabs him. Kyle fights back, but his cellmate wasn't trying to hurt him. He was just teaching a lesson. Keep quiet. There's too much noise in this world, and the man says he has earned his peace. At the next meal, Kyle sits with Malachi and Billy. The kid has the shortest sentence, so they tell him to keep his head down and get out alive. Malachi survives by selling contraband inside the prison. Andre walks up and spits in Kyle's food. Billy can't take it anymore and throws himself at the gangster. They pull the kid off, and Andre threatens him with another nighttime visit. After sunset, Kyle finally hands Tolik some cash and asks for a cell transfer. The money isn't enough. Out in the yard, the guards put on a show. Men dressed up as women, dancing in front of the crowd. It's all build-up for the fights. Tonight, the prison favorite, Andre, is stepping into the ring. The administration and the inmates place their bets. The gangster destroys his opponent, beating the man even after he's down. The losing side's crew rushes the ring, and the guards have to pull everyone apart. Kyle asks Malachi if his cellmate 451 ever fights. Malachi tells him the big man refused public bouts a long time ago. Khrushchev wasn't happy about it, but they found another use for him. They put unwanted inmates in his cell, and when those inmates pay to get transferred out, the guards pocket the cash. That evening, the guards drag Billy to Andre again. Before they come, the kid tries to sharpen a toothbrush into a weapon. Inside the cell, Billy pulls it out, but Andre takes it from him and stabs the kid in the side with it. Tolik figures he can squeeze more money out of the Americans, so he orders Billy taken to the infirmary. The next day, Kyle is working the railroad when a member of the Russian gang kicks him out of nowhere and accuses him of disrespect. A guard asks what happened and takes the gangster's side. 3 of them beat Kyle down. They tell him this isn't America and he shouldn't try to play the hero. Kyle is shipped back to solitary. He greets his neighbor through the wall. The man is still moaning in the next cell over. It seems like they never let him out. Only dreams of Gray make the lousy food and the stone slab bearable for a while. Days blur into one. The moth comes back, and Kyle talks to it, helps pass the time. During a heavy rain, water pours in through the hole in the ceiling. Kyle hears the guards taking his neighbor out for a fight. The man is massive, 2 meters tall, 130 kilos. Finally, after growing a full beard, Kyle is released. On his way out, he sees them bring a mountain of food to the neighbor's cell. The giant keeps wailing. Andre spots Kyle back in the yard and threatens him again. Then something else happens out there, and one gang sends a violent message to another. A killing in broad daylight. Just business as usual in Kravavi. That evening, Kyle is alone in his cell and picks up 451's notebook. His cellmate writes that hatred has replaced hope for him, and that's what keeps him alive. 451 appears in the doorway. They lock eyes, but the man doesn't touch Kyle. In the cafeteria, Andre pushes things further and hints that he wants Kyle for himself. The American walks over and punches the gangster in the face. The rest of the Russians pile on and start beating Kyle, but he won't stop going after Andre. Tolik breaks it up and throws Kyle back into solitary, 451 watches from a distance. He knows desperation pushes every man towards something bigger sooner or later. This time, in solitary, Kyle spends the day's training. Meanwhile, out on the railroad, workers find an old landmine. A vehicle with guards accidentally rolls over it and blows up. Billy sees his chance and bolts for the fields along with another inmate. The guards open fire. Billy's friend goes down. The kid keeps running, pushing through swamps and open ground, but a helicopter catches up to him and they drag him back. Tolik beats the kid and tells him he cost them a lot of money. They don't throw Billy in solitary though. He's more useful as Andre's plaything. Kyle keeps building muscle. When he returns to his cell, 451 can see what's happening. The American has been pushed to the edge and now he's going to fight back no matter what. But his cellmate knows the price. Kyle will forget who he used to be and become just another cog in this machine. The prison administration notices Kyle's progress and sets up a fight between him and Andre. The big shots pop champagne and bet on a quick win for the Russian. The fight kicks off. Kyle takes hits but keeps getting up. He doesn't have the technique or the experience, but he connects with a big hook that wobbles the gangster. Billy cheers from the sideline. Andre gets furious, drops Kyle with a hard shot, and keeps hitting him on the ground. The American can't shake it off, and the Russian taunts him. But in the last moment, Kyle manages to drag Andre down and locks his teeth into the gangster's neck. Khrushchev screams for them to stop the fight, but it's too late. Andre bleeds out and dies. Kyle lets out a crazed victory scream. Back in the cell, 451 doesn't celebrate. He warns Kyle that the thrill of winning fades fast, but the American keeps stepping into the ring and becomes the new favorite for bets. Wardens from other prisons bring their best fighters to go up against him. Killing becomes routine. The inmates are scared to cross him and cheer for his victories. Malachi and Billy are worried about the brutality they see in their friend. 451 asks Kyle if he even understands what he is turning into. Kyle has nothing to say. He doesn't care what anyone thinks. Sometime later, Gray's brother flies in from America. He is trying everything to get Kyle transferred back to the States, but the man doesn't want any part of it. He tells his brother-in-law to stop feeding him empty promises and to forget he exists. During a concert for Russian Independence Day, Billy decides to make another run for it. Kyle warns him about what will happen, but the kid can't take his situation anymore. Malachi helps organize the escape. Meanwhile, a new inmate named Valya comes up to introduce himself to the prison's top fighter. He clearly wants payback for Andre, but Bolt holds him back. While Khrushchev delivers a big speech to the crowd, Billy tries to slip away. He gets spotted outside and is brought straight to Tolik. The lieutenant beats him and tells Billy he is never getting out. He's going to keep making money for them. It turns out, Malachi sold Billy out in exchange for medicine. 451 notices the betrayal. Billy is handed over to Valya. The kid fights back and spits in the man's face, but it only makes things worse. Valya beats him through the night. By morning, they find Billy barely alive in a pool of blood. Kyle rushes in with his last breath. The kid tells Kyle not to let them turn him into something he's not. Then Billy is gone. His body goes into an unmarked grave. And just like that, the suffering is over. Those words stick with Kyle. The next fight is set up, him against Valya. They brought the fighter in from another prison for a big show, but Kyle is done playing someone else's game. He sits down on the ground and refuses to fight. Valya still hits him, but the American's will is unbreakable. Tolik pulls Kyle out and promises a harsh punishment. They handcuff him outside, where he spends day after day in the cold, the heat, and the hunger. The only way out is to agree to fight again. Meanwhile, 451 buys some kerosene from Malachi. Then he pours it right on top of the man and pulls out a match. Malachi begs, saying he couldn't survive without the medicine. But his words changed nothing. The fire takes him. Watching the flames, 451 remembers his childhood. Other kids picked on him for his speech problems. His teacher was the only one who ever had his back. But then, that same man abused him. The teacher burned the same way Malachi just did. That's how 451 ended up in prison in the first place. The guards send him to solitary. Out in the yard, the other inmates are shaken by Kyle's willpower. Some think he's a fool, but eventually every small gang decides to bury the hatchet. They make peace with each other and refuse to put up fighters. Tolik demands Bolt send Valya out, but the answer comes back. They can't. The guards are stuck because they can't punish everybody at once. The moth visits Kyle again, and he sees Gray's spirit. She hasn't appeared in a long time because he had lost himself. Now, he is back on the right path. Khrushchev and Tolik try to figure out what to do. They need the fights for income. Killing Kyle would make him a hero to the other inmates, so that's off the table. Instead, they plan to strip him of his status. Kyle is transferred to the infirmary. He sees Gray again. She is happy that the man she married is finally back. As long as someone remembers a person, that person never truly disappears. When Kyle recovers, they move him to solitary. He knocks on the wall to greet his neighbor, same as always. But that evening, the guards come for him. They bring Kyle to the main corridor. The inmates watch through the bars as Khrushchev announces that the insubordination in his prison has gone too far. The American is going to fight again, whether he likes it or not. They bring out his opponent, LeBlanc, the giant in a collar and a mask. The massive man charges forward and attacks. Kyle tries to get away, but those huge hands grab him and start throwing him around. LeBlanc tries to choke him, but the American bangs on the nearest cell door. The giant recognizes the knock. It's the same sound he heard through the wall in solitary, his only friend. LeBlanc lets go immediately. He can't speak, but he gently pats the man on the head as an apology. Tolik pulls his gun and orders them to keep fighting. Kyle says he is ready to die, but will not obey. LeBlanc turns and charges the guards. He takes several bullets. Kyle jumps in too. The inmates go wild, ripping cell doors off their hinges. A full-scale riot breaks out. Kyle grabs Milok's hand as the giant takes his last breath. The American covers his body with a jacket as a sign of respect. The prisoners push outside, but they're met with automatic gunfire and tear gas. Kyle and 451 find a quiet spot away from the chaos. Kyle tells his cellmate about Gray, about her murder, about losing himself, and about how, when he lost who he was, he lost her too. He's not going to make that mistake again. 451 offers to help him escape. They head back to their cell, where 451 has a hidden stash. Records of every crime the administration committed and every inmate death over the past 20 years. The plan is simple. Kyle agrees to one more fight. After that, the guards will try to take him out to a field and get rid of him. That's when his window opens. 7 inmates and 1 guard died on the night of the riot. For 2 weeks after, nobody was let out of their cells. Khrushchev gives the green light for Kyle's last fight. After that, the American is of no use to them. Kyle steps into the ring against Valya. The big Russian hits hard, but Kyle hits back. Despite the weight difference, the American locks in a hold and breaks his opponent's arm. Valya pulls out a hidden knife and tries to stab Kyle. The American grabs Valya's hand and drives the blade into Bolt's stomach. The mafia boss bleeds out. Kyle smashes Valya's head against a pole. That one's for Billy, and knocks him out. The guards take Kyle away. While the fight had everyone's attention, 451 sneaks through a passage to the garage. Together, they jump the guards. Kyle gets Tolik at gunpoint. He forces the lieutenant to take off his handcuffs and takes back his wedding ring. Then he drops a car on Tolik and the man doesn't get up. 451 leads Kyle to the warden's vehicle and hands him a guard uniform. Kyle asks his cellmate to come with him. 451 refuses. He gives Kyle the documents and tells him to make sure the world finds out what happens inside Kravavi. Kyle drives off. 451 makes his way to the general's office with a pair of pliers in his hand. Khrushchev dies at the hands of the one inmate who knows every last detail of his crimes. 451 doesn't resist when the guards come for him. 3 months later, Kravavi Prison is shut down for good, all because of the documents Kyle brought to light.
No! No! Get out!